Have you ever taken a flight for the sole purpose of earning points? Well, today I'm earning the final 45 tier points that I need for British Airways Gold status. I'm doing that via a flight down to London and back from my home base in Newcastle. I'll be flying down in economy but back up in business class, so it should give me a good opportunity to compare those two products and decide, is it worth paying extra for the business class fare, especially given you get a lot of the same benefits in economy if you have status. Let's get going.
So that was the intended focus of this video, and I still plan to cover all that information here. But as you'll have seen from the title of this video, BA had some other plans for me today. But you know what, I think that just helps to demonstrate the benefits of status even more. Now, there's quite a few perks and benefits on the ground when you fly business class compared with economy, and these benefits mostly apply when you fly economy with status as well. Now, I'm going to cover those in a bit more detail at Heathrow for that return journey, so for now I just want to talk a bit more about why I'm doing this flight. So this is what's known as a tier point run, which is when you take a flight for the purpose of earning BA tier points, which is what you need to earn status with BA. Now, it takes 1,500 tier points to earn gold status with BA, and it's coming up to the end of my tier point earning year and I was 45 points short. Now, I've got flights planned with most of the major one-world airlines over the next 6 months, so having that gold status would be really valuable to me, especially for getting access to some first-class lounges. So I thought it would probably be worth going out of my way to get these points, and a day trip to London was the most convenient and least expensive option that I could find. Sure, I could have stayed overnight and that might have been a more fun trip, but then it would have added a hotel cost which I wasn't prepared to do. The return flight was £146. Now, shortly before boarding the economy leg, I noticed that my seat had changed on the app. I had put the exit row seat of 12F, but my ticket had changed to 7C. I had a sneaky suspicion it might be an upgrade, and sure enough, when I got to the gate, that was confirmed. And even better than that, it was on BA's brand new plane, which I didn't realise we'd be flying on today. Now, the seats had a really nice stylish upgrade. I think it looks really nice, and it's had a few new modern touches to bring it up to date. Everything looking nice and clean as well, as BA's only had this plane for 2 months. There's no major differences in the comfort of the seat. I'd say the back of the seat was maybe slightly firmer than the old version, but I think the headrest was actually a bit more comfortable and a bit more sturdy. There's individual reading lights and air vents above the seats, and on the seat backs, really easy to access, is a USB and USB-C charging port. Legroom was fine, and the seat pocket was pretty decent as well, although you probably struggle to get anything substantial in there. The seat does have a recline function, but I kind of wish it wouldn't. It'd be a bit of a dick move to recline if there was someone behind you, I think, on a short flight like this. In business class, the middle seat is blocked out with a handy tray table, and it's worth noting as well that these newer aircraft have better luggage capacity. A common issue on BA short-haul flights is not having enough space in the luggage bins. People are often forced to check their bags at the gate rather than take them on board because there's not enough space, and that can delay takeoff, so having extra capacity is a real bonus on these flights. As my upgrade was to an aisle seat, no takeoff view, so that's as good as I got. And once we were airborne, the curtain was closed behind me to divide the business and economy cabins. BA has retained the setup where they can configure how many business class seats there are. You can see these gaps overhead, and that's where they can attach the curtain if they want to have a smaller business class cabin. And after that curtain had been closed, they handed out the menus for the flight. And I was very surprised to see a lunch/dinner menu at 10:30 AM. Not complaining though. The breakfast options are usually terrible, so I'd probably rather they did a lunch or dinner service on every flight, really. It was at this point I noticed that my tray table was actually on a slight slant, so despite only being in service 2 months, it's already a bit damaged, which isn't great. And it did cause me a bit of a problem once my food arrived. I found it was actually sliding off the tray at times. It took me a while to kind of find a position where the tray would actually hold still, but I got there in the end, and I was also served a lovely glass of champagne to go along with my meal. And doesn't that just taste so much better when it was a free upgrade as well? Now, given the short duration of this flight, I thought they did a really good job with the meal. Everything was served cold, but it was really tasty. Chicken may be slightly dry, but other than that, it was good. Made a quick pit stop in the bathroom, which was actually a bit more spacious than I'm used to. It was a bigger sink and a bit more space to move around as well. My head wasn't bashing off the ceiling, which is a good sign. And back in my seat, I spent the rest of the time just relaxing, watching Welcome to Wrexham before we came in for what ended up being quite a rough landing. But overall, a very pleasant and enjoyable flight. And it did feel really great to have got that upgrade for free. Now, the whole reason I booked the flight down in economy was because it would give me 5 tier points, whereas the business class flights on the way back up would give me 40, so 45 in total for the exact number of points I needed. As far as tier point runs goes, that's a very, very basic one. I see some people do crazy legs where they'll do like 6 to 7 flights. If you've ever done a tier point run like that, I'd love to get some details of that in the comments. And as I made into London, I just wanted to comment again on the upgrade. So one of the benefits of having status is it does increase your chances of getting upgraded. It's not a guaranteed thing, so don't think that when you get status you're going to get upgraded all the time. This is my first time getting upgraded as a silver member. Maybe it'll happen more often when I'm gold, we'll see. But they did actually offer me a cash upgrade, so a couple of days before the flight they were offering £434 to upgrade, and then at check-in they lowered that to £95. Now for me, given I didn't need the tier points and it was just a morning flight and I had a load of perks with status anyway, I didn't think it would be worth it, but I don't know, would you have paid the 95 quid? I had a nice day exploring some of the sites in London, and I even did a little Buckingham Palace tour, which I'd never done before. And you'll have seen from the clips there, I made my way into the city on the Heathrow Express, and I made my way back on the new Elizabeth line. And I will actually be releasing a video comparing those two products, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Now if you have BA Gold status, you can make your way all the way to the right hand side of the departure hall to go through the first class check-in. This is a special check-in area that then goes through a fast-track security and deposits you straight in the first class lounge. If instead you have silver status or below, or if you're flying business class, you can use the separate Club Europe and Club World check-ins before you head through fast-track security. And these are two key benefits of status or business class, alongside extra baggage which helps to differentiate it from economy. Now the lounge occupancy board there you'll see was showing basically no occupancy at most of the lounges, so I decided to head to the usually overcrowded North Lounge. When it's quiet, this lounge is great because it's got this terrace area where you've got a lot of natural light and you've got some views of the runways. However, that board was a complete liar. Whilst the lounge maybe wasn't as busy as it sometimes is and I did manage to get a seat, the place was still packed out. I grabbed myself something to drink and a bite to eat, but unfortunately the food was terrible quality. I went for this jumbo fish finger and potatoes, but it was all really bad, cold and a bit tough. So after having some poor food in an overcrowded lounge, I decided to give the South Lounge a go. And thankfully that lounge did seem noticeably quieter than usual. I managed to find myself this fairly private space to sit in, and I got myself a chicken curry and some pasta. Looking at my Garmin, I could see I'd managed to rack up over 30,000 steps wandering around London today, so I was very much looking forward to getting some good food in me. Now I know a lot of you watching this are probably screaming out, why didn't you go to the B Gates Lounge? And yet, generally speaking, it's a quieter, nicer space. But the boards were showing that it was busier than usual, and I'd done more than enough walking for the day. And it wouldn't be a BA video without a delay, would it? So shortly after getting that food, there was a delay announced. I decided to relocate myself to an even quieter part of the lounge. During the day, this part of the lounge has good views as well, so these seats are always taken. And the delay actually afforded me a quite unique experience. The lounge is usually so busy that I don't like to really film too much, but because it was the end of the day, every other flight had gone basically, it gave me a good opportunity to walk around and get a few clips to show you what the space is like. Now unfortunately they did kick us out of the lounge around 10 o'clock. The flight was initially delayed till 11:30, but they managed to bring that back to 10:45. So thankfully we did get a gate not too long after I was booked from the lounge. I think I was maybe waiting around for about 10 minutes before they finally gave us a boarding gate. It was a bit of a random delay as well. The captain told us about it when we got on board. They had sent all the crew home for our flight for an unspecified reason, so they then had to get us a new crew from standby. Unfortunately we had to go downstairs at gate A10 to go find our bus gate. One of the perks of flying in business class or flying with status is that you get priority boarding. Unfortunately for us today, that just meant going through to a different area to sit down before we waited to get on our bus. And it then meant we were stood up on the bus for longer whilst we waited for that to fill up before we could finally get over to the plane. Now even though this is one of the older planes, it's the same basic configuration in business class and in economy. It's all set up in a 3-3, but in business class that middle seat is blocked out. Now for some reason row 1 were missing their tray table today, but all of the other rows did have that middle seat tray table there. But yeah, the seat had a fairly similar level of comfort and space compared to the flight this morning, so nothing too different. The charging ports were obviously a bit more outdated, but it is worth noting that this plane had Wi-Fi, including free messaging services as well, whereas they haven't got the Wi-Fi set up on the new plane just yet. There's the usual reading lights and air vents, and I did think actually that this older tray table was a bit more sturdy than the one I'd had in the morning. It didn't take too long before the second bus arrived and everyone got on board. We were handed out our menus and I decided I was probably going to go for the salmon. It was a bit late, but I still fancied having a bite. And as boarding was complete, I had the wonderful news that I had the whole row to myself. Even though you've already got the middle seat blocked out, it does make a difference to have the full row as well, because you can just use that tray table entirely for yourself. I always pull down the tray table on the seat back as well, and I can use that for my tablet whilst having my food in front of me. Just a really nice setup. And when the food came out, I'll be honest, it didn't look particularly appetising to me, but it actually tasted really good, polished off the whole thing, and I got myself a Sprite. I was driving home, so I couldn't enjoy champagne for this one. The dessert in particular was really good too, and was a lovely way to finish off the meal. I do want to call out as well that the cabin crew were brilliant on both flights, really friendly, proactive as well with the service, and when I finished my Sprite they offered me another one for blanding as well, so they brought it out with a plastic cup so I could continue to drink as we flew down. So is it worth doing the business class? Well, I think status greatly enhances the economy experience to the point that it's probably not worth paying cash for business class short haul for me. I think when you've got all the ground benefits like the lounge access and the fast track, and when you can pick a seat for free with status and get the exit row, and then also potentially have the chance of today getting an upgrade, I just think the only reason I would book a short haul business class flight with BA is if I wanted to do it to earn the tier points, because that is a good way of earning status. And it is also worth doing if you're connecting onto a long haul route. But I think whether it's worth it to you will just depend on individual circumstances. If you don't have any status with BA, then the ground benefits you can get with it might be worth paying, especially if it's not a big difference from economy. Or if you've got a lot of disposable income or a lot of points, it might be worth just paying the extra to just have that nicer experience. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. When would you pay for business class with BA? Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.